Hello friends, as I promised you, we're going to make a video for how to prepare food for a dog either with EPI, endocrine pancreatic insufficiency syndrome, or a dog with pancreatitis. They both involve the pancreas, but in the one case you have a dog which does not make enough enzymes to break down food and receives additional help to break down enzymes in the food. I use digestive enzyme and I add it to my mix after the food is prepared. There's also a company called Pentex, a link will be in the description. Can you get that on camera? You have to add vitamin E to your mix, or
omega-3.
Omega-3. Vitamin E suggested as well. You could add sardines or mackerel or cod liver oil or any fish oil to get the benefit of this. I don't happen to have any at the moment, so we'll do it through pills. One of the most important vitamins you can add to a dog with pancreatitis is a B complex vitamin. Later on in the video I'll show you the brand I use. I use a company called Vitamed. One of the things, this is for female dog, is called In Between for Her. This has a lot of vitamins, manganese, calcium, iron, vitamin A, vitamin K, pancreatic acid, which is vitamin B6, niacin, folic acid, vitamin B12, and so forth. This company, Vitamed, I'll put a link in my description.
Breeder's Edge.
The bottle is called Breeder's Edge, but there's other vitamins which I will use in making my suggestion. One strong suggestion I have for you is that if you use vitamin B12 in the form of pills, the absorption rate is not as high as for injections. So get a prescription from your vet. Revival Animal Health also sells vitamin B12 shots. They're extremely inexpensive. You have to learn how to give an injection subcutaneously, meaning under the skin. It's not into the vein and it's not into the muscle. Those are called intramuscular injections or intravenous injections. This is called a subcutaneous injection, meaning under the skin. The needle is no more than a diabetic needle. It's a very small little needle, and you can administer these once a week with a prescription from your vet. When you give vitamin B12 through a needle, all of it is quickly absorbed into the bloodstream. When you give vitamin B12 through pills, there's a certain amount of loss as the food gets past the digestive tract. Now in dogs, the digestive tract is very short and is very acidic. In a herbivore, such as a cow or a deer, there are multiple stomachs and the food takes more passages until it's broken down. So while a cat is a pure carnivore, a dog is not quite an omnivore, but it scavenges, and there is a certain amount of vegetable matter that it needs in its diet. So a dog can eat raw meat, but the vegetable content should be cooked because it can't absorb it. One of the things I recommend you buy, I use a company called mypetcarnivore.com, is ground beef tripe. This is the uncleaned, it's kind of smelly, contents inside a cow's last stomach that after you cook the vegetable matter and you add the proteins, this is your prebiotic and probiotic. This gives the dog both vegetable content and the various good bacteria which push out the bad bacteria, giving you optimal gut health. To us it's smelly, but to dogs They love this stuff. So we're going to add this a little later as I show you the video. If you don't want to add omega-3 fish oil, I recommend you add salmon oil to the meal. I'm going to have a link to the description. And this has omega-3 and omega-6 that you can get, or you can just add sardine salmon, or you can add this, or you can add this. The best is this if possible in liquid form. If you don't happen to have any, add omega-3 pills. Let me take you through our setup and familiarize you with what we're gonna do. I am not a vet, but this recipe is based on Dr. Judy Morgan's recipe. I'm gonna put a link in the description, who is a vet. I would advise you to take this video and show it to your vet and see if they have no problems with it before listening to me. Again, I'm not a vet. Everything you do is at your own risk, but I found this recipe to be invaluable in feeding a dog with either EPI or pancreatitis. In the case of pancreatitis, the dog has an inflamed pancreas. What you normally do in a case like that is you go to your vet. They will normally tell you to fast your dog for 1 day so the pancreas has a chance to slow down and heal a little bit for being so much inflamed. So being 1 day without food will not harm your dog. You do gotta give a lot of water, and if you want to, you can use chicken broth or beef broth to give a little taste. But you want to keep the liquids up. But normally if a dog has a case of pancreatitis, 1 day you fast the dog as it's discovered to let the pancreas rest. The following day you would then switch to a high quality diet. If you're feeding kibble, you're feeding garbage. It's like giving an athlete McDonald's to eat versus high quality steaks, lean chicken breast, and the best of the best. So kibble is just terrible for dogs, and it spikes the insulin glycemic index, causing pancreatitis. The pancreas also secretes insulin, for those who don't know. The onset of many cancers we now have in dogs comes from all the processing of the food and all the chemicals, MSG, and a lot of chemicals which are used to keep food fresh. They're in the dog's food. A lot of the meat we eat, the cows are given hormones to make them grow faster, to make them slaughterable and bring them to market faster. Same thing with our chickens. Everything is given hormones to make the animal or the chicken grow up faster so it can be slaughtered to yield greater economic value to the farmer. But in reality, that's not good for us. And maybe 10-15 years ago, we didn't see as much incidence of cancer in dogs, or people for that matter. I think a lot of the hormones and a lot of the chemicals in our food are responsible for that. Now, let me take you through our setup really quickly and familiarize you. So here we have frozen green beans. You can use fresh or frozen. We have 3 bags worth. We have spinach. We have collard greens already washed. We have carrots. Off camera, I took a bag of cranberries, washed and put it in the cooker machine. And I took a bag of mushrooms and I added in, ideally shiitake mushrooms. Again, this recipe is based on Dr. Judy Morgan. I also have some eggs. We're going to use the whole egg plus the shell for its calcium content. Now for the proteins. Now the protein portion can be given completely raw, but the vegetable portion has to be cooked, and then the vegetable portion mixed with tripe in a cooked state will then be added to the protein portion. Or you could cook some of the proteins if you have an old dog like 12 or 13 years old which can't handle raw food or has problems with its teeth. So the protein portion can be cooked or raw. The vegetable portion should be raw. So let me quickly take you, we're going to cut up our veggies very quickly before we deal with our proteins. So here we have our collard greens, spinach, and green beans mix. We're doing the next batch of collard greens. These leaves are big and they have a hard time chopping down. We're going to chop it down a little more on camera and do the rest off camera and come back and continue with the rest. Okay, so here are some of our protein sources. Here we have chicken gizzards. This is about $2 a pound and is a very cost-effective way to feed dogs. Cheaper than canned dog food, to be honest with you. Some of the higher end kibble is $100 a bag. For $100 you can buy a lot of human grade, not dog grade ingredients. So for $100 it would go very far compared to a bag of premium kibble. Anyhow, I find it funny when kibble approaches the price of actual food. So we have about, I would say 2 pounds, a little more for each of this. This is about 6 pounds of gizzards. Over here, already cubed into slices like you would make for beef stew. In fact, if you've never had beef heart, some people don't like beef heart, but it's actually, you can make a delicious beef stew out of it. We as Americans are not used to eating organ meat, but in fact, if you look at the quality of this meat, here's a piece of a beef heart, for example. Look at the muscle tissue of the beef heart. There's absolutely zero fat because the heart is a muscle, and what you want to do when you're feeding a dog with pancreatitis is avoid fat. Well, look how lean this meat is. It is absolutely no fat. So beef heart is here on the table. I'm just cutting it a little smaller to make it more into bite-sized pieces and make it a little bit more manageable. Now, the main ingredient will be either pork or beef or chicken or turkey, ground beef or ground chicken. Now, some dogs are allergic to chicken and they might not be allergic to turkey. So you might want to try turkey if the dog is allergic to chicken. Odds are they're not really allergic to the chicken itself, but to all the preservatives that the kibble, which claims to have chicken meal in it, which is surrounding the chicken. Okay, friends, so we have a little helper here. So, can you come closer with the camera? So we had 2 pressure cookers full of beef hearts, gizzards, collard greens, spinach, carrots. Anything I missed? No. I don't think so. So this container contains the end result. The liquid has been drained, and this is the meat and vegetable mixture from pot 1. And this is meat and vegetable mixture from pot 2. Now, what I'm doing is I'm creating a base. The base by itself is already edible, but there's not enough food here because we only had about, how many containers we had of gizzards? 2 or 3?
3.
3, so about 6 pounds of gizzards, roughly. Yeah. Each container is about 2 pounds. And how many pounds of beef heart we had? About
3 or almost 4.
About 3 pounds?
Yeah.
Maybe less?
3 or maybe 3.5.
Okay. So from the meat portion of the cooking, we have a total of only about 6 pounds of meat, which is not enough to feed a dog this size. That's what she needs. So off camera, my wife cut and sliced and peeled. What is it called?
Butternut squash.
Butternut squash into bite-sized pieces. I'm using the same liquid as was the veggies and ingredients were cooked in. So all of this is simply sliced and peeled, and it was done off camera. So I'm putting the butternut squash in the very same liquid, that we used to make this veggie mix. This is part 2 of this making the base. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add meat, either pork or chicken or beef or turkey, as the main food, and take a piece of the base into each dish that'll be prepared for each dog. So we're still preparing the base. Now my dogs do extremely well on this food, and this is extremely nutritious. It has fiber, it has vitamin A, it has carotene, it has biotin, it has protein from both the chicken gizzards and the beef hearts and the spinach. So now we've added our squash. I'm taking the mushrooms, these are cancer fighting properties. I'm taking them whole.
Your sniffing is not for you yet.
I'm cutting
It's
it.
to be cooked.
I'm not even cutting it. I'm washed them, but I'm not even separating the stem from the head of the mushroom. I'm
Because
just
we're gonna
putting
go
them
to
in.
food processor after that. You know.
Right, we're gonna put everything in the food processor when we're done making our base. So we are, mushrooms are here. Ta-da, ta-da! Chicken liver. I've never seen a dog not go gaga over liver. So we're gonna pour out the blood. Although dogs can eat blood, really. We're gonna react a little later. And we'll get the final meal made for you, okay? So we're gonna pour off the blood from the
So, sure you sniff it.
from the chicken livers. I'm not gonna wash it except to pour it in just as you see it. You want to photograph that? Come closer. So we're gonna, it's again a vegetable and a protein mix that is all part of our base. What is it, baby? You want some water? Here we go. Now we're gonna cook that for about 30 minutes or so. The pressure cooker takes a lot of time out of the equation. If you've been following along, we basically have 3 pots worth of ingredients. This is, what is it?
What?
What happened? Why are you barking? Yes, don't
Take
worry.
this for a second. She almost pulled my shoulder.
Come on. Close that up for a second. What, you're afraid of the...
Машина, успокойся.
It's a machine, baby. I think the machine frightens her a little bit for some reason. I can see it 30 minutes. And it's starting to cook. While that's cooking, what we're gonna do is we're gonna mix it all together. Now, the way I'm gonna do this is I'll create one big mix. Because one bowl can't hold a quantity of 2, I will take some from this bowl, some from this bowl, because the vegetable and meat content is not quite exactly the same per bowl. So I'm going to mix it in small batches, simply because I can't divide a mixture like that precisely. So this is my first mix. Okay, Bailey, get over
Bailey,
here for a
get down.
second. I know, it smells good, right? Doesn't it? That's what she's reacting to, the smell. Alright, so this is about an even mix. And we're going to put it through a blender. Okay, so my little doggy helper is out of the room, otherwise she'll make too much background noise. Okay, in this machine now is about an equal mix from each bowl. It's the same ingredients, just I'm trying to balance out the meat to veggie content. For the dog which has the inflamed pancreas, I'm not adding rice. For her daughters, which have no issue, I am adding rice to act as a binder. so that it gives some calories. But what you don't want to do is give rice, which raises the hypoglycemic index and causes more problems to a dog which has a pancreatic issue. So we're creating some extra calories from starch, but it is okay for the non-pancreatic dogs. We're now taking the beef tripe. I mentioned it before. It smells kind of bad to us, but dogs love it. For whatever reason, they seem to not be able to get enough of it. So I'm going to take a little bit of it. I'm going to mix this up.